Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Nigerian Center Home Ownership Workshops. My name is Benga Ogunjimi. I'm the founder and executive director of the Nigerian Center. Thank you so much for coming out today. Before we get started and present our speaker for tonight, I want to do a little bit of introduction and talk to you about Nigerian Center, particularly for those who are joining us for the very first time. So why don't we do this? For those who we have on the line, can you tell us where you are joining us from? Can you just chat in the chat box and let us know when you're joining us from? Okay, I see Maryland. Please use the chat box to chat where you're joining us from if you're able to do so. Bethesda, Maryland as well. And I see Boston. Excellent, excellent. So I'm just going to proceed. So once again, this is the Nigerian Center Home Ownership Workshop. And our speaker for today is Mr. Eze Okwodu. He is a real estate expert. And I'm going to do an introduction pretty soon. He has generously volunteered his time to be with us today. And he's going to be discussing the theme, the topic. It is time to move from renting to owning. So a little bit about Nigerian Center. Nigerian Center is the very first Nigerian American Cultural and Immigrant Center. We are located in Washington, D.C. While we are called the Nigerian Center, we do serve all immigrant groups across the country. And we have identified 4 asset building areas. One of them is clearly home ownership. We know that home ownership is one of the cornerstones of the foundation for wealth building, not just in America, but in around the world. Research shows us over and over that those who don't own their primary residence, the odds are stacked against them to be able to accomplish financial freedom. And when we talk about generational wealth or participating in financial inclusion, which is the mission of organization, homeownership is definitely a pathway towards that. Hence the reason we are holding this workshop today. Another area of what we do is financial program. We do have a small business lending program. We make loans available to our community from $500 to $250,000. These loans without credit decision, and also not without collateral. What that means is that anyone who just come into the country, or regardless of their immigration status, is able to get a business startup loan at the Nigerian Center. And we know that entrepreneurship for a lot of folks in our community is not a luxury, it's a survival strategy. So we make that available. We do have language classes in Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, and we're about to announce our spring 2023 classes very soon. We do have cultural programs where we talk about and we do workshops on Nigerian culture and educating folks about our rich cultural heritage. And finally, I want to talk about our immigration program. We do have a walk-in immigration clinic in Washington, D.C., providing free legal services to folks who are able to walk into our offices in Washington, D.C. Those who are not able to walk into the office are able to speak to a lawyer at a small fee of $50 and will still be able to get the same services. So how can you get involved into what we do? Questions we get asked oftentimes. As I mentioned, that we do have an immigration clinic that you can all walk into in Washington, D.C., or you can speak to a lawyer virtually. The video of this particular workshop and all of our previous workshops are all available on demand on our media page on our website. Yesterday, we had an immigration workshop with its immigrants and access to healthcare. The recording of that content is already on our website. And you can also visit our previous workshops that we've had. We've had a treatment on family-based immigration, employment-based immigration, humanitarian-based immigration. All of those videos are available online, including our previous home ownership workshops. Our volunteer opportunity. Our speaker today, Mr. Eze, as I mentioned, is a volunteer, is volunteering his expertise towards the center. There are also ways in which anyone can volunteer. One of the things I think everyone on this call can do is to just let folks know about the presence of Nigerian Center now exists, and let your community know about that. So be a self-appointed ambassador for the brand. Other ways you can, reach out to us, contact us, and let us know how you might be able to support us or volunteer your expertise. We do have a community partners page, and this is more of a listening session. At this community partners program, it comprises of community leaders, whether they are faith-based, community-based, from the media, from business, from academia, anyone that has any touch point with members of the immigrant community. We want to hear from you. If you go to our website under Get Involved, you are able to sign up for our community partners. If you're not following us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, we now have a LinkedIn account, including YouTube. Please follow us immediately so you can stay updated with our programs. Donation, our team is 100% volunteer-led and managed. So with the exception of our lawyers, and even some of them are also pro bono lawyers, we definitely need your donation. Oftentimes when we hear about donations, sometimes we may discount ourselves because big numbers come to mind. Even if you can give $1 or $5, whatever money you can give is definitely going to go a long way. It is part of the way of you making a difference and financially supporting the work that we do at the Nigerian Center. We've been making calls, and I probably spoke to some of you concerning Giving Tuesday. And the idea is Giving Tuesday is not just a day we are in giving season, so you can still contribute to the Nigerian Center. If you go to Nigerian Center website, /donate, you are able to do so. So that said, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker today by the name of Mr. Eze, popularly known as the Eze Way. He has an audacious, inspiring, monumental vision of putting 1 million people in their homes within his lifetime. And he's been doing so aggressively. If you are in the Washington, D.C. area, you definitely know the Eze Way. His brand is unmistakable, is very conspicuous everywhere you go to, and he has an insatiable passion for real estate, not just the wealth building side of real estate, but the opportunity to really affect families and change the trajectory of generations to come. Because the numbers are clear that once you own your primary home, you can begin the process of generational wealth building. And our speaker is all about real estate. It's all about ownership. So I want to turn it over to him to tell us his story and to speak to us about moving from renting to owning. Over to you, Mr. Eze.
Hey guys, how you doing? Can they see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes.
see you.
Oh, okay, because I can't tell because I just see a picture of myself on the on the thing. But yeah, I would love to thank you guys for taking the time out to come out today to listen to this. I hope I'm able to convince you to start thinking about purchasing your own home, even if you're not ready now, but in your lifetime, purchasing your own home in the United States. I'm taking it that everybody here is from Nigeria, right? Hello?
No, I'm not.
Oh, where are you from?
I'm from Botswana, Southern
Oh,
Africa. Yeah.
oh, okay. I just thought because Nigerian says that I thought everybody was from Nigeria. But the advantage we have being Africans is the fact that home ownership is just like part of our culture. Because I remember when I was growing up, first thing they told me about is when you get old enough, when you're like 22, you get married, you start saving, and you build your house and you have your family. So that's just part of our culture. So that's a huge advantage that we have, and that's one thing I see a lot in the United States, that more of us just tend to buy houses. But the advantage of houses here is like it's way bigger than that. It's big because it changes the direction of your whole family. So there's a documentary I watched recently, and he talked about the reason why the Caucasian community seemed to just be more successful financially in the United States. And it all stems from homeownership, because they were given the opportunity to buy homes at a more affordable price about maybe 40 years ago. And just because of that, that just changed the family direction for that. So my goal is to try and educate about homeownership, about credit, the importance, even though it sounds impossible, there's so many programs, especially in Washington, D.C. and Maryland, that can assist you with this. So, even if you're having like financial constraints, there's still some programs that can assist you, and I can help you with that, with things like that. Anybody already own a home online or thinking about buying a home anytime soon? I can't see anybody. I wish I could see.
I am.
Oh, you're thinking about buying?
Yes.
What's one of the things that's holding you back? Like, what are one of your fears of buying?
I think the whole discussion of like 5%, 10%, 20% down payment, so you don't pay for, is it insurance? I'm just getting into the lingo now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 5% is huge though. As a first-time home buyer, all you need is 3.5%. But so you don't, but I understand what you're saying. In order for you to avoid paying certain taxes, if you put 20% down, it'll give you an advantage.
Yes.
But the average person, doesn't, not saying you don't have, but the average person doesn't have 20%. Because on average in this area, homes are going for about 350 to 400,000. So 20% would be about 80,000, to tie down into a home. The average, person doesn't have that, but it doesn't mean you still can't buy a home, because all you really need is 3.5%. So instead of putting out 80,000, all you have to come up with is about 14,000 to buy a home. So that's a huge difference. Right. And especially now, the market being what it is right now is considered a buyer's market. So what that means is like you have a lot of advantages, because you could negotiate, you could get the seller to pay for certain things for you. You could get the seller to pay for your closing costs. So you don't really have to come out of your pocket more. Because to buy let's say a $400,000 home, you normally would need about 28,000. So you need 14,000 for the down payment. That's the 3.5%. And there's something called the closing costs. This is the additional costs that come with buying a home. And that's approximately another 14,000. So for a $400,000 home, you need about 28,000. But because we're in a buyer's market right now and buyers have advantages, the closing costs, you could request that the seller pays it for you. The sellers are desperate. People are not buying homes the way they normally were buying homes before. The interest rate is high. It's the holiday season. People are not really thinking about buying homes. So there are lots of homes on the market and few buyers. So that's one of the advantages. So you can get the seller to pay for your closing costs. And if you're lucky, you could get some down payment assistance. Some loan officers are offering incentives to try and get people to buy. So one of the incentives is like they might offer you $5,000 towards your down payment, or $10,000 towards your down payment, towards you buying a home. So the point I'm trying to make is like things are getting easier now for you to purchase a home. So it's something you want to take advantage of, especially if you live in the Washington, D.C. area, because D.C. has a lot of programs that give you up to $200,000 towards buying your first home. And this is something I could assist you with that. How long you been in the country?
Over 10 years, but I did a 2-year stint back home and came back. Yeah.
Okay, so you're good. Because usually a lot of the people I meet, from the Nigerian center are recently new to the country. So most of the time they have to wait for 2 years because they have to work consistently for 2 years before they could start the process of purchasing a home. But you don't have that problem. You're already good to go. And the city where you live, do they have a lot of programs to help people buy homes?
Yes, they do. I think Maryland does have, but I have 1 or 2 friends who've gone through the DC assistance program. Yeah.
Oh, you live in DC? Okay, I thought you said you lived somewhere else. But okay,
I live in Maryland. Yeah.
Oh, okay. DC has a beautiful program called the HPAP program. They give you up to $200,000. That's a lot of money. Even if you don't get the whole $200,000, you might get $80,000 or $50,000. That helps you a lot. And Maryland has programs as well that if you need help, I connect you with the loan officers to help you with the programs if you need help with that.
Right.
So, well, you seem like you already know. You seem like you have everything figured out already.
Yeah, I think there's some hesitancy and questions, but I'm looking forward to learning more from you. Yeah.
Oh, one of the questions asked me. I'd love to answer your questions.
Yes, no, I think it's that whole 5% or 10 or 20%, and then trying to find a place that has a good school system is another big factor. So those are all just questions that are going through my head on how to choose a good starter pack home. Yeah.
Yeah, the first step, though, I always tell people the first step and the most important step, the step that's even more important than me, is us finding out how much the bank will be willing to loan you. So once we find out how much the bank is going to give you towards buying a house, then we could start focusing on the location. So I always tell people, don't worry about the school. I mean, it's good to worry about the school, for your children, but the focus should be how much are they going to give you? Let's say hypothetically they give you only $100,000. That's not enough to live in a good school district. That's not even enough to, it'd be very difficult to find a place for $100,000. So I always tell people, let's find out exactly how much we're going to get. Once we find out how much we're going to get, then we'll use that as a compass that will guide us to, okay, we have $300,000. We have $300,000. We want to live in, let's say, Montgomery County. Where would I be able to find a property in Montgomery County for $300,000? That would be a big challenge. Okay, let's think about Gaithersburg. You familiar with Gaithersburg?
Yes, I live in Gaithersburg.
Oh, you already live. Oh, yeah,
yes,
you're in a perfect location then. Yeah, look, Gaithersburg has more affordable homes than Rockville, or so they have way more affordable places over there in Gaithersburg. I'm actually going to Gaithersburg tomorrow with a client, to look at properties in Gaithersburg, because he wants to live in Montgomery County. Someone asked me that. Okay, what is the process of asking the bank? That went off so quick. I didn't read it. I think somebody asked me a question about what is the process of asking the bank. I didn't read the whole thing.
It says, what is the process of asking a bank for how much they will give you on a loan? Pretty much how much you qualify for the pre-approval.
Oh yeah, it's basically they make that decision after they check your credits. Once they check your credit and you have a 620 credit score, you fill out a mortgage application. They check your W-2s for the past 2 years so they can see how much you made for the past 2 years. Then they also check to see how much you make every month. Then they compare that to how much you spend every month. So even if you make a lot of money, let's say you make $20,000 a month, if you spend $19,000 a month, you won't be able to get a loan because your debt to income ratio is too high. So they want to see how much you make compared to how much you spend, car notes, child support, alimony. They're going to compute all these things. Then they're going to check your credits. Then they'll now say, okay, perfect. Everything looks good. We could loan you $700,000. Or they might say, everything looks good, but your debt to income ratio is a bit high. we're comfortable loaning you 300,000. Or in some cases, they might say, we're not comfortable loaning you any money at this time. Maybe you need to fix your credit score. Maybe you need to add a second job, to make them comfortable loaning you the money. So that's how it works. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to give you my number, so you could always contact me if you have any questions. Gaithersburg is my area, so I could help you in that area.
Easy. Should bad credit stop you from starting the process of buying your home?
No. It shouldn't stop you. You should find out what your credit score is. Then, if your credit is bad, depends on how bad it is. If your credit is bad, I could connect you to a credit repair specialist that will help you get your credit score back up. And that's still part of the process of home buying, because you're just getting your score to the right number, which is about 620. So you shouldn't let that stop you at all. Because I see some people trying to use that as an excuse, like, oh, I have bad credit. Nah, that's not an excuse. We could fix your credit. I had a client who had 500 credit score about 2 years ago, and we just closed on a house a couple of months ago. So there's always a way, always. See, somebody asked a question. I can't see it on my screen.
I will read the questions.
Oh, okay.
What's your advice for folks who just came into the country and plan to buy a home approximately within 2 to 3 years?
My advice to you is to save as much as you can. Save as much as you can, and don't make any large purchases. The mistake a lot of people I've noticed make is they might purchase a nice vehicle, and even if you could afford it, it affects your debt to income ratio. So let's say the bank could have loaned you $500,000 to buy a home, but because you bought that vehicle and your car note is $300 a month, and your insurance is like $250 for full coverage, that affects your debt to income ratio, and the bank won't be able to loan you $500 anymore. They might be able to loan you $250. So don't make any large purchases. Just be disciplined. Save. Because the bank wants to see that, okay, they're saving money. They have this money saved up, or they have like 50,000 saved up, or they make 10,000 a month, but they only spend 2,000, or they only spend 4,000. So just save as much as you can, and no large purchases. And your credits. Don't play with your credit. In some cases, credit is way more valuable than money. And in the beginning, a lot of people come to you and ask you, hey, could you co-sign for me, or can you help me get this apartment, or can you help me co-sign my vehicle? A lot of people will do that. And because of the nature of my job, I get to speak to people every day. And I've seen, like, I'm not even exaggerating, hundreds of people who personally, they don't have any large expenses, but they co-sign for their cousin to buy a car. The cousin, lost his job and stopped making payments on the car. And that now affects your credit and ruins your credit. Or they helped some lady they grew up with in Nigeria, or, co-sign to rent an apartment. Just simply rent an apartment. That messed up their credit because they're connected with that person. So be very, very careful about that.
Do I need to have a W-2 to buy a house? Can I buy a house as a self-employed person?
Yeah, definitely. I'm self-employed. I'm a 1099 employee. So as long as you file your taxes, the bank just wants to see that, oh, you've been working for the past 2 years and you're self-employed, or you could be, Uber driver, or you could just, be like me, a real estate agent. But as long as you're filing your taxes and they can see how much you make, that's all you need. And you have the credits, and the income. They'll give you the loan to buy the house.
I just came into the country. Do I need to get my green card or citizenship before I start the process of buying my house?
Not necessarily. Anybody could buy a house in the United States. I have clients who live overseas who buy homes in the United States. The problem is, because you don't live here, or because you don't have you're not a citizen, the bank will require you to put down 30% down. That's huge. So for a $400,000 house, the bank wants you to put $120,000. If you have that kind of money, fine. But $120,000, then they will finance the rest, as long as they see that there's income coming from somewhere. But yeah, it's best for you to, either try and purchase a home with somebody who's already a citizen. I guess let's say hypothetically you have a wife who's American citizen, you can purchase it, under her name, to get the loan under her name, and the deed of the home will be under both your names. So you could take advantage of only putting 3.5% down. Because if you don't have your papers, you have to put 30% down. If you live overseas and you want to purchase a home in the United States, as long as you can show proof of your income and everything, they will finance you. But they want you to put 30% down, so you can have skin in the game.
Is there value in buying a property in a major city like DC or New York when I can get much more bigger property in a neighboring or not as a bigger city like DC or New York?
Yeah. I mean, there's an advantage to it, and the advantage is the value of the property increases quicker. So you buy a property in DC for $300,000, within, let's say, 7 years, it goes from $300,000 is worth $900,000. And you buy that same property for $300,000 in Waldorf, Maryland. The value increases in Waldorf, Maryland, but it's only like $450,000 in the same amount of time. So that's the advantage. But all depends on what your long-term strategy is. If you're thinking as an entrepreneur, as a business person, you want to make money, it's good to invest in DC and New York and California. But if you have a family, you want to be in a nice place and still take advantage of the equity you're going to build, even a little bit further away is still it's still good. It all depends on you, on what you want to do.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of starting your real estate with a condo?
What are the advantages of starting with a condo? The advantage of starting with a condo, I personally started with a condo. The advantage of starting with a condo is, in the beginning, your income is not so high, at least for me. I bought my first condo when I was 25. In the beginning, how much was I really making? I wasn't really making that much. I worked 2 jobs. So I wasn't making enough where the bank could loan me a large amount of money to buy a home. But anything is better than renting. So buying like a 2-bedroom condo or buying a 1-bedroom condo is a good start for you to start the process and for you to invest in yourself as well.
Is there any disadvantages with condos?
Yeah. Disadvantages with condos, the value doesn't increase as much as buying a house. So the value of a house increases faster. The values of condos don't increase as fast. They're a little bit more difficult to sell. They don't sell as quickly as townhouses or houses. But it gives you the opportunity to purchase something.
Someone said, what are the hidden costs of owning a home?
Hidden costs. I mean, you pay your mortgage. You have to be prepared for electricity and gas, which most people pay in the homes they rent anyway. You have insurance, so insurance covers like any emergencies, most emergencies. I don't know. I can't think of, any real hidden cost.
I think the person might be thinking is, if I'm renting, if anything breaks, I pick up the phone, I call the property management or call my landlord, but I call myself when I own my home. Could that be some hidden cost?
Yeah, in my opinion, you can't compare that to buying a house for $300,000 and within 10 years, the house being valued at $900,000. So you made $600,000 profit in the house you live in. You're using it for your taxes to get money back from the government. The value of the house increases. Your children inherit the house after you pass away. To me, in my opinion, you just can't even compare. Like renting is like a scam, in my opinion. You're paying your landlord's mortgage. You pay your landlord's mortgage and your landlord is taking advantage of everything I've mentioned. The value of your landlord's property is increasing. He's making money from it. He's filing that property on his taxes, and his children inherit the property and not you.
So the follow-up counter to that is, I've once heard of homeowners association or landlord association fees. Could that be some of the hidden costs to be aware of owning your home?
Homeownership fees is basically fees you pay. Like, let's say you live in a particular area, you pay that, and they maintain your grass, so everything looks uniform. They take care of the snow when it snows. They take care of the trash. So I mean, are they hidden fees? I guess consider it hidden fees, but it's something that you take advantage of.
Can you co-buy with someone who is not your spouse if you don't have a green card?
Oh yeah, you could co-buy with anybody you want. You could co-buy with anybody you want. Yeah, you can.
Let's see. So, Eze, why don't you tell us your own story? How did you get into real estate? What was your journey? How did you begin, and how did you become? And what is a secret that made you become so successful in real estate?
Yeah, my story is similar to like the conversation we're having here. I was from Nigeria. I lived in Nigeria, and I moved to the United States. And when I came to the United States, I started attending Howard University. So I lived in a house with close to campus. I lived in a house with other Nigerians and I think like an American guy and I think another Caribbean guy. So we all lived in this house and we're all renting different rooms in this property. So what I did, I noticed was like we're paying rent to my landlady. She was a Caribbean lady. She was older, and the house wasn't in great shape, and it wasn't in a good neighborhood. So I noticed that I did the math one day, and I was paying about maybe 3,000 something, maybe 3,500. But don't forget, this is 3,500 in 1990. I think this was 1998, 1999. That's a lot. That's equivalent to paying, let's say, 9,000 a month now. It's a lot of money, and it wasn't a great house. She rarely came to fix anything. So I thought about it, like I could do the same thing. I could do exactly what she's doing. So that's how I decided. Then I started reading books, and that's how I decided to get into real estate. To at least, first of all, stop myself from paying this lady's rent every month. She increased the rent. I think one day she woke up and she just told us we had to leave. Like no notice. So I mean, it wasn't like I was even in control. So I was paying the rent in a place that wasn't so great. And, she had control over my life. So, that's how I got into real estate. So I purchased my first condo. The first property I purchased was a condo. But like I said, I was young, so the bank wasn't going to loan me enough money to buy a townhouse. So I went for a condo instead. And that's how I started. That's how I got into real estate. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the moral of the story is that you could do the same thing as well. Like you shouldn't force yourself to try and get that big house. You could start something small. Because what happened, I bought that first condo. It was a 2-bedroom condo. Then I saved up. Then I bought another condo the next year because I wanted to do what she was doing. My plan was to rent it out. So when I bought the first condo, I lived in one room and I rented the other room out. Then the next year I bought the second condo and I rented that whole condo out. Then the third year I bought a third condo. Then the fourth year I bought a fourth condo. But it was all strategic. It was all because of that lady I saw, the Caribbean lady who was my landlady. So basically, you buy the condo, you rent it out. The people who are renting it out pay your own mortgage for you. You maintain the place. You just make it livable. You're maintaining. Once in a while, it doesn't happen all the time. They call you because there's an electrical problem, but it's not all the time. But basically, you're having other people pay for a property that you own, that your family is going to inherit, your children are going to inherit. And before you know it, in 30 years, it's all paid off. Because this story I'm telling you, it started when I was about 25. So basically, I was like, I don't want to give you guys my age, but just imagine like the home's already almost paid off. But 90% of the money that been paying on the mortgage is not from my pocket. It's from my tenant's pocket. So they go to work, they wake up early in the morning every day, they go to work so they could pay my mortgage. So you could do the same. the same thing as well. Even if you're not trying to be an entrepreneur about it, just for where you live, you should take control of your life and try and purchase a home where you work to build for yourself and not somebody else.
Thank you so much, Eze, for that story. One of the fears people have is if I miss my mortgage, the bank takes my house. Is that correct?
It's a long process before the bank is able to take your house. It's not like you miss it, they take it the next day. No, it's faster for you to get evicted than for you to lose your house. So basically in Maryland, let's say I have a tenant hasn't paid me my rent. First month they don't pay, I send them a 30-day notice. I fill out the paperwork at the court. We get to the court, basically the whole process to evict a tenant takes about 3 months. In Maryland, it's a little bit longer in DC. In Maryland, it takes about 3 months. But you can't pay your mortgage. I know people who haven't paid their mortgage in 2 years. 2 years, 3 years, they haven't paid their mortgage. Then when they finally get themselves together, they do something called, I can't remember, they do something, the bank does something for you where they basically start afresh. So it's easier for you to get evicted as a tenant than for you to lose your house. Not saying that, you shouldn't pay your mortgage, you should pay your mortgage, but that shouldn't be an excuse like, oh yeah, I might miss my payment and they'll take my house. That's not true. And this is public information. So you could research it and Google if you want.
Now, given that you work with a lot of people, you help a lot of people close houses every year or buy their houses every year. What have you seen as the main factors what stops a group of people from owning their first home? And when people start, what makes them successful? Like what stops some people, what makes other people successful that you're saying, the common denominator?
Most people that I meet that stops them is it's all in their mind. It's all mental. They can't even visualize it. So it's difficult. They're just in their mind. They create all these things. Like, what if I miss my payments? Or, they just create all these things in their mind that stops them mentally, that mentally blocks them. So that's most of the people I have to try and explain to them because I meet so many people. I've had every excuse and I have a response for everything. Like, oh, what if this or what if that, and I have a response. So eventually, once they open their mind, they come around, they purchase a home. Then 3 years later, they thank me like, oh, thank you so much. That house that I bought for $200,000 is now worth $350,000. Or thank you so much. I had an emergency back home and I was able to refinance from my house that I bought, and I was able to use the money to bury my uncle or different things like that. So the house doesn't act like just your home. It's also like a bank, in a sense. If you have enough equity in the house and you refinance, you could take that money out to either buy another property or it can help you in cases of emergencies. There's just so many advantages to it. So just, it's all in your mind. Just get it out of your mind that you can do it. It's definitely possible.
Now, giving you work with a lot of immigrants, have you seen any advantages for an immigrant working with an agent or a broker that kind of understand their culture? Does culture have any role to play in?
Yeah, definitely. They're just like conversations. Like, let me tell you, just last week, I spent a lot of time at different African stores, talking to different people about real estate. A gentleman walked up to me. He's like, "Hey, I have a wife. She just came in from Nigeria, but I married this lady for papers. So, just that conversation is not a conversation that average everyday Caucasian real estate agent will understand. Like, married for papers, what does that mean? But because I'm from the same culture, same background, I understand what they're talking about. Or something as simple as, I don't know if you guys are familiar with something called Susu. Susu basically is a game where everybody, every month, they put in like $500 and everybody puts it and they rotate how the money goes. And, you might get $10,000. The average African American real estate agents is not familiar with that game, Susu, or the average Caucasian agent is not familiar with it. So those are just those two examples I'm giving you from just something that happened to me recently. But there's so many other subtle things that, you know, an agent from your cult background will be able to help you with that another agent won't be able to help you with.
There's a question, but Rudy, if you want to unmute yourself, and because I'm seeing some numbers here, I'm not sure I can compute them. Feel free to unmute yourself to ask Eze the question directly. Goody A.
Okay. Thank you so much. I didn't want to interrupt or, you know, do anything, but just to give a context, one thing that's been on my mind is, yeah, what you're saying is convincing me more towards home buying and all that. I've been thinking about it for a while. I'm also very new to the country, like a year plus, and this is definitely on my mind, right? But in a situation where, so just like the Bible says, if anybody that wants to build a house, we'll go and count his costs, right? So I'm basically just counting my costs. Because I realize that some of these fees are kind of hidden and people don't tell you until you get into them. When you get into them, you now start, you know, rethinking a lot of things.
Yes.
I have a scenario in my head. If my rent is $1,200 a month, where I currently stay, but and I have, as a homeowner, I know I have some payment, my mortgage, insurance. You mentioned a couple of them before. Let's say homeowners fees, even if it's $300, whatever amount it is. And yeah, possible maintenance, because now I own the maintenance, and maintenance
Of the house,
is on me. If the sum of that comes to an average of, let's say, $2,500 a month, but where I currently live is $1,200 a month, is there still a reason to go ahead and get a house? I understand the benefits of home ownership in terms of, you know, it is yours. It is yours as the asset and all. Of course, you can pass it on to your children. You can do stuff, but, you know, imagine this was a situation where my monthly rent is $1,200, but the cost of owning a house every month would be about $2,500. What would be the reason? Why should I go ahead to get a house?
And maybe you shouldn't buy a house.
What would you advise?
But, I mean, maybe you shouldn't buy a house where your mortgage would be $2,500. Maybe you should buy a smaller place where it would be, you know, $1,500 or $1,800, or even just something lower. Maybe that's one thing. Maybe you buy a house where you have more rooms. This is just a thought, because that's how I was thinking. You buy a house where you have more rooms, and maybe you could rent those other rooms out and eventually make money. But if that's not your plan, to like rent your place out, maybe you shouldn't buy something that's $2,500. Like, because that's not your budget. You should get something closer to your budget.
Okay,
you know.
Great. Okay, so reduce my expectation of what I want to get.
Yeah, to like maybe something that's, because getting something that'll be exactly what you want, like the same exact money you're paying in mortgage, it doesn't happen most of the time. But mark my word, you're not going to be paying $1,200 forever. Over time, right? Your rent is going to increase over time, or you're going to move to a bigger place, and eventually you're going to be spending like $2,000 or $2,000, you know, $2,000 something in a place you don't own, you know, eventually. So my advice is, like, you try and buy something around your budget, and maybe you're able to rent a room or the basement or something, you know, in the house, so you could make up for what.
And I also like pay a part of it or the entirety of it.
Exactly. Staying where you are at $1,200, it seems like the smart thing to do now, but eventually it will increase from. It's not going to be $1,200 forever. It's going to increase to that $2,000 you're running from eventually. But if you buy the place that's $2,000, that's fixed for 30 years, right? So if you buy a house today, your mortgage is fixed. It's a fixed interest rate for 30 years, right? And that's fixed. And rent is going to keep on increasing over time. So your rent is like $1,200, eventually it's going to be like $3,000. And the mortgage of $2,500 will stay at $2,500. So it might seem smarter now, but it just, in the long run, you know, might not be a good move. It might, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Please, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself. You're about to close out. So Eze, how can folks get in contact with you? What your information and how's the best way to reach you?
I'm everywhere. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Twitter, I'm on WhatsApp, I'm on YouTube under the same name. It's EZE_OKWODU. You could also call me directly. I'm available 24/7 as long as it's business related. My number is 301-559-2872. And my hashtag is hashtag the easy way. That's hashtag THEEZEWAY. If you tap that, you find, I do a lot of educational videos. I show a lot of homes on social media, on Instagram. You'll be able to get firsthand knowledge of what real estate is all about on my page on any of those platforms.
Well, I guess the question should have been how people not to reach you because you are because you're actually available every single where. And I'm sure some people on this call came out just because of that. I want to thank you so much, Eze, for your wisdom and insight and strategies today. Thank you for the generosity of your time today. We really appreciate you.
You don't mind if I take a picture with the
so let me hold on one second.
I mean, like with everybody, I don't know if you're gonna show. Would it?
So guys, if you want to come, if you're able to come to the camera, Eze way want to take a picture with you all virtually. Hold on one second, Eze. Let me put it back to your screen. Excellent. So everyone, once again, just want to go through a few opportunities to connect with us at the Nigerian Center before we go. In terms of getting involved, if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, I see a few folks from Maryland. Please note that we do have an immigration walk-in. It's a free walk-in clinic, and you are able to walk in to speak with an attorney every Thursday from 12:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. every single Thursday in Washington, D.C. If you're living outside of the DMV area, you are still able to speak with an attorney. There's a small fee of $50 to do so. And the steps for that is you go on our website on the immigration page and you fill out an intake form, and a lawyer will follow up with you to schedule an appointment. This recording and the previous recording of all our workshops will be available and are currently available on our media page. That is nigeriancenter.org/media. Please do so on our media page. Volunteer, if you want to volunteer at the Nigerian Center in any capacity, please feel free to reach out to us. We do have a community partners page, which is an opportunity to do a listening session to listen to the pain points of the people in various community. You could be members of the business community, community leader, faith-based churches, mosques, places of worship, student groups, cultural groups, everyone that has some form of a touch point with immigrant communities that don't have to be Nigerians. While we are called Nigerian Center, we serve everyone. Consider joining our community partners network. If you're not currently following us on social media, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn as well. Nigerian Center on some platform is the Nigerian Center, and other platform is Nigerian Center. If you're not a giving partner to the Nigerian Center, we highly, highly encourage you to do so. And it is nigeriancenter.org/donate. It's Giving Tuesday. It was Giving Tuesday 2 days ago. but it's giving season. We still want your donation. It's going to go a long way. Nigerian Center is a volunteer-led and managed organization. So your contributions, it's crucially important and help us keep our doors open and our lights on. And then please don't wait, as Eze said, until you're able to write a huge check. You can give as small as $1, $5 is going to go a long way, and you can do so today. While you are on our giving page, we just shot the Nigerian Center story video. We ask that you watch it and you help us promote it on your page so folks can know the resources available at the Nigerian Center. Lastly, on our giving page, consider becoming a recurring partner where you can set up a recurring monthly donation on the Nigerian Center website. You are able to do so at any amount. It's going to make a huge difference. Lastly is the evaluation for this particular workshop. And I just sent the evaluation form in the chat box. Please complete the evaluation forms. Let us know what we can improve with this workshop. If you have any topic suggestions for the future real estate series, please let us know. We're about to announce our last financial lending workshop for the month of December, so stay tuned to that. And that said, I want to say thank you everyone for joining us today. I want to thank once again Eze for generosity of his expertise and time. And I release every one of you into greatness until we see you again. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, sir.
Enjoy the rest of the evening. Yeah.
Thank you.